I'm going to press go live. Going live. Here we go. Okay. Yay! Welcome to Dulcimoon Talk number 32. I am Erin Mae, and I'm very excited to be joined by my friend Carmen Amrein from Munich, Germany. Carmen is maybe the only university trained hammer dulcimer and zither and hackbrett player for sure that I've ever met, and maybe one of the only ones, especially that has also done work in the United States. You've been a part of the quarantine festivals and contributed in a lot of ways. And just last week at the Dulcimoon Festival, when Katie Moritz at the last minute had to step back, Carmen stepped in and taught an extra class for us. And so I am delighted for us to share some time and space here and let the world hear more of your wonderful musical story. So, welcome, Carmen.
Hello, good night. Well, guten Abend, because in Germany it's night right now. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Yes, I'm Carmen. I'm based in Munich, München, and yes, I have a lot of musical journey actually. And yeah,
Yeah, so do you want to start at the beginning with how did you discover these instruments?
okay, so the very beginning is that so in Germany it's usual common to start your music journey with early music education, what I did. And then it's usually followed by learning the recorder, how to play the recorder. So I did that. And then when I was 7 years old, I told my dad I don't want to play the recorder anymore. I want to play clarinet or flute. Those instruments because my dad played clarinet and in our like town music, well, the flute was the instrument that the girls played. Well, so my dad, being my dad and being a traditional German music lover and player, um, he went to festivals and he saw, well, first he saw the harp, but it didn't fit in our car. So, secondly, he saw the Hackbrett. So, the Hackbrett is the German type of hammer dulcimer. And he thought, oh, this would be a nice instrument playing with my daughter. So, he actually bought it to have a family music group. So he was like, he put it in front of my nose and he said, okay, this is the instrument you're going to learn. And then he searched for about like 6 months to find a teacher because I didn't grow up in Bavaria. I grew up in the state next to it in Baden-Württemberg, close to the French and Swiss border, and there we don't have a lot of teachers for this instrument. So he searched and he finally found one, and then my journey began. And actually, um, a foundation was founded, a Hackbrett Foundation, and they started with festivals, in-person festivals, of course, back then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so when I was 8 years old, my dad took me to this very first festival I went to. And he actually went with me and he took his accordion because he was also an accordion player. He took his accordion with him. He asked if he could join in any group. And so we were like the daughter and the dad, and we went like for 10 years or something like that. It was always me, the daughter, and he, the dad, being there with the accordion. And this was great. I met a lot of friends and teachers and tutors I'm still in contact with, and also my biggest um, person I prefer to when it comes to hackbread and being like following and what you can do and who taught me a good thing. And she's actually a woman. So it's Dulcimoon. So
Yes.
her name is Belisa Mang, and she is a big name in the Hackbrett scene and also for international folk music.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, so and they founded this Hackbrett Foundation, and when I was like 12 or 13 years old, I started to begin to play in the youth group. And so I began to play there, and we went, well, one time we went actually to a roller coaster park to play there because they always, like every year, they had a big music gathering of instruments, and we Hackbretts played in the Hard Rock Cafe. That was really nice. That was really, really nice.
Oh,
And yeah, getting in contact with international players and the ancestors of this instrument and cousins
yeah.
was when I went to the Symbol and Work Congress, the CWA. Karen
Yeah.
Ashbrook talked in her talk with you about last time in
Yeah,
December.
she did.
So my first time was 2003 in
Uh-huh.
Appenzell in Switzerland, and there I got in contact with Christy Burns from the States.
Yep.
But back
She's
then
from
she,
Chattanooga, Tennessee, I
hmm
think. Yeah.
and back then she used to live in Ireland, and she put
Okay.
together a hammer dulcimer festival, a dulcimer festival in Ireland, and did a revival of the instrument in Ireland. And she actually asked me and a friend of mine to come over to Ireland and teach and play. So that was the journey that began for me traveling with the instrument. And that was
Yeah.
in 2004 when we went to Ireland. There we met the Martin family band who brought us over to the US, got us in contact with Joni and Nick Planton. So in 2005, we went to the US and, well, played at Shepherdstown, in Shepherdstown at the festival and taught and, went to like and met Karen Ashbrook and Paul Oates for the first time and Mark Allen Wade. So that was like the first time also getting to know the big names or some of the big names of from the US. And then
Yeah.
yeah, in 2006 I started to study at the University of Music and Performing Arts in Munich. That's actually the reason why I moved to Munich in 2004 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because Munich is the only town or only university in Germany where you can actually study Hackbrett. The other universities are in Austria,
Yeah.
and nowadays there's one in Switzerland. But I actually wanted to have my university training by Birgit Stolzenburg, who is the professor of Hackbrett. She's great. She's awesome. And so I got in university in 2006, and I studied Hackbrett Salterio, which is the Baroque ancestor or the Baroque instrument
Mm-hmm.
of the Hackbrett and the hammer dulcimer from Italy and Spain. I studied Zither. I studied early music education and traditional German music. So I
You
studied
were
for four
busy.
years, uh, playing a lot, teaching,
Yeah.
and well, within those 4 years, I went and bought a dulcimer kit and put together my first dulcimer and played a bit, and also played my dulcimer in my finals here.
Hmm.
Well, of the university,
Yeah.
I played like two traditional songs with a fiddle friend and someone on guitar. It was really great. Yeah, and then in 2006 also there was the second World Congress, Symbol and Work Congress, where I met up with Nick Blanton, Joni, and Karen Ashbrook again, and all the people, and it
Yeah.
was really great. I remember that we, the youth group, we were the final act in the host. concert. And it was like about midnight, and we were having a party backstage and waiting
Uh-huh.
for our spot. And it was great. It was great. Also was a great concert because we had a collaboration with the Swiss youth group. So we played together, and it was really fun because, well, Swiss, they have also a different instrument and also different playing techniques and things, and it was just a great time. Yep, and then, well, I went to the to UK and taught there, and
With
I
the
did my
none
finals.
such Dulcimer Club there.
None such, yes, none such. I taught at the York Winter Warmers. Well, it when it was in York back then.
Hmm.
And then I finished university in 2010, and I went to Canada for a year. And the first thought about it was, okay, am I going to survive without any instrument for 1 year abroad? So I was like, no,
No.
that's never going to happen. I have to take an instrument with me. So, yes, of course, I took my Hackbrett with me and my hammers and my tuning pig and things. I didn't take a stand because I was okay, this is something I can buy over there overseas.
Uh-huh.
So yes, in 2011 and 12, I went to Canada with a work and travel visa. And well, first I went to New York and then to Rochester, where I met with Mitzi Collins,
Mm.
and then Montreal and uh, no, Toronto, Montreal, Quebec, and the East. And then I took, well, German. I only took the train and the bus because I was really scared that my instrument would be
Mm.
damaged or something on the plane because I
Oh
had that
no.
before.
Yeah.
That happened before, that they forced me to check in my instrument, and I
Right.
saw on, well, when I was on the plane, I saw how they threw the instrument, and I was like, oh no, oh no. It was really good that only two strings were broken and I was off to Nick Blanton's the next day. So
Oh,
fingers crossed, he
yes.
fixed it, and I still have those strings on the instrument. So yes, so I took the train, and I had a little stop in the Rocky Mountains, and then my final destination was Vancouver. And well, all this journey, all this riding the train, I actually financed with playing music. So at one point, I went on the Goethe Institute website. It's an institute for, well, German things outside of Germany. And
Uh-huh.
they had like a list of German churches, German restaurants, German anything. And there's also a big Schuhplattler community, so traditional Schuhplattler dancing um, over there. Well, in America, in the US and in Canada. So I
If
got
you
in
know where to
contact
look, yeah?
with those people because I was like, I'm German. And the grand thing was that nobody knew the instrument, nobody knew what you could do on this instrument, and so I could play anything. And it was great concerts, it was. And so that's how I financed my trip to Vancouver. And in
Yeah.
Vancouver, um, I actually ended up working for an world music store, and there they had a hammer dulcimer, no, two, and a cymbalum, a Hungarian cymbalum. So, well, of course, I did tune the instruments, but I also had to play. Nobody was in the shop, so
Of
I was going to
course.
play and practice. Um, and well, and I also was a choir teacher for the kids at a German school. So, and they also have German language schools of, well, of course, over there. And in Vancouver there are two, and I was like a choir teacher in one. And it was
Wow.
nice because I asked for a concert, and the headmaster was actually, oh, well, we can't do a concert right now, but we need someone to do some choir stuff, some singing, German singing with the kids, because there's going to be an Advent singing. And so can you practice the carols and everything with us? So yes, of course. And after that, they were like, "Oh, it's going to be fairy tale year, the year of Brothers Grimm in
Yes.
2012." And they said, "Oh, we have a big gathering there, and can you teach the children more?" And it was really great. Yeah, so I did a, some traveling, and also some traveling down to LA, to the SCDH, the Southern
Yeah.
California Dulcimer Club,
Yeah.
and I also did a couple of concerts there and some teaching, and it was great. And well, traveling back, also teaching and well, playing music. And the funny thing is that I had my Zither ring, my Zither thumb ring with me, and I actually had a couple of students in Seattle, in San Francisco, and in LA, and I did teach them in person. Well, back then there was
Yeah.
no Zoom.
No.
Yes. So in September 2012, I came back to Munich, and yeah, and then I taught at the music school in Munich, and um, then I went to a bureau um, to work as a event management assistant. What I still do, and I still teach, so that's what I'm doing. But then in 2015, also the Symbolimore Congress, and there's a lot of Symbolimore Congress around here, happened in Malvern in the UK, in England. So I
Uh-huh.
went there and I taught, because they did a congress and they put a festival in front. So I was teaching a
Yeah.
festival, and then I think I stayed for 2 days because I had to come back to Munich for an event of my bureau. Um, yes, and then, well, and then actually I met my husband, and we got married, and well, there are kids. So it's less practicing. I still teach, and I kept teaching, having the
Yeah.
babies with me. That was really
Yes.
um, but during that time with our first one with Lucas, I invented a children's concert theme
Yeah.
concept. So with a friend of mine who's playing the harp, and we met at university because she also studied Hackbrett. We got together and we are now playing those children's concerts. Well, in Munich and in Germany, we have a lot of classic children's concerts with classical music, where
Yeah.
the children still sit down and have to listen. And our thoughts were, no, children have to move, children have to sing along. And so
Yeah.
our program is for the kids. Well, we do have like two songs where they have to listen, but all the other songs of playing like for almost 60 minutes are for dancing, for singing,
Yeah.
for doing something. And
Hmm.
they really like it. We are
Yeah.
having a couple of those concerts a year. And yes, so that's it. And then the pandemic hit also
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
actually at first I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be online with my students. It took me a long time to get online.
Yeah.
I believe it was June or July of 2020. So I went into the online teaching, and then I read something about this Quarantunes festival
Yeah.
and about Karen Ashbrook teaching that. So Karen Ashbrook is my hammer dulcimer guru, you could
Hmm.
say. And I was like, oh, I can finally have another class with her. So I signed
Right.
up for the second Dulcimer Quarantunes Festival, and I've been there taking classes since the second time. And then actually I ended up meeting Tina Bergman. And because I helped her with some Baroque Salterio tunes and things, she asked me if there is anything she could do for me, and I was like, "You're on the staff of Quarantine. Could you tell them that I'm the German who's writing emails and wanting to teach, offering to teach?" And yes, she did. So
Yay.
I wasn't able to join in number five. I joined in number six, and since then I'm teaching, and it's a lot of fun. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm there. There's also an in-person festival in Germany I'm teaching at, and so I'm teaching a lot of like traditional German music, international folk music, Baroque, Salterio music, and yeah. So that's
Yeah.
actually my journey. And if
Yeah.
my dad hadn't started it would be like would have been. So yes, that's
Yes, as you know, I have the similar story of my dad saying, "Here's a mountain dulcimer, see if you like it." And that's how I learned to play. And there wasn't some people have I heard this beautiful sound and I had to go hunt it down. And neither one of us had that experience, but we both had the experience of a supportive parent who said, maybe this would work for you. And then it definitely stuck.
yeah.
So,
So I actually ended up playing sometimes with my dad as a family music when there were
yeah,
birthdays and Christmas. So
yes.
it did work out a bit. And he used to um used to visit me and us a lot. And he actually when he visited, and I was still in university back then too, he went to every concert I was playing in university. That was really good, and that's also something to remember. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Did you have siblings or were just you? Just you and your dad going and playing music
Yeah.
together?
Well,
Yeah.
because my mom also went to the concerts and listened, but
Yeah.
she is an artist. So she's drawing. She's the
Yeah.
drawer. And as a kid, I was going to drawing classes, I was going to gymnastics, and I was going to the music, and
Yeah.
I ended up as a musician. Well, actually, I first did an apprenticeship. So after school, my parents told me, no, you're not going to study music first. You first have to learn something. Well, not
Practical.
music, practical.
Yeah.
And then it's okay if you go. So, yes, being a nice daughter, I first learned something practical. I don't know what's the translation in English. It's, well, a good bureau job
Yeah.
and organization and well, and then when I finished, I was like, okay, and now I'm moving to Munich and I'm studying Hackbrett. Yeah. And yeah, and that was a really good decision. And after studying Hackbrett, I actually also studied a bit of, or did a course for 1 year for music management.
Mm.
Um, so it's
Mhm.
it's it's a lot of things that um, well, that I can do and did.
Yeah, well, I know that a lot of musicians, myself included, sometimes really struggle with the organization side of it. And that seems to be a skill that you really also bring to the table. You're quite good at keeping us all organized, keeping
Yes.
yourself organized and other people organized and making the plans. That's
Well,
really valuable.
that's right. But it also has to do with a lot to do with being a mom because having the children, I have to work my way around everything,
Yeah.
finding time to, well, as I said, I'm not really practicing a lot, and that's something I really wanted to do again. But with the
Yeah.
kids, and well, what's actually happening is that I can have just one little glimpse at my instrument, and my little one, my 4-year-old one, Felix, he will stand next to me and say, "Mommy, I want to play."
Yeah. Me? My turn? My turn?
I want to play Where Are My Hammers?
Uh,
Yes,
oh,
so I'm like, okay, here are the hammers.
yeah,
Here's
yeah,
the stool because you can reach, and he will play, and
yes,
he will have a really nice time. And sometimes the 6-year-old will come and will say, "When is my turn? I also want to play."
yeah,
And
yes.
then you're going from, "I'm finished. I want to play another instrument." And having a lot of instruments,
Yep.
it's like it's like, oh, I don't know which one. I don't want to have a small instrument. I want to play this. Yes, it's big
Yes.
decisions.
Yeah. So your windows of time for focused practice change a lot when there are little people with shorter attention spans.
I mean, I see that the time they play together, they play
Yeah.
for themselves and they go to friends is getting more.
Hmm.
Yes. So it's going to be in the right direction, and yeah.
Yeah.
So and the
Yeah.
big one is actually taking music classes now. So those early
Oh,
music education classes I also started with.
yeah.
So I'm really interested to see what he's going to end up. And also, like, they are so used to having me on stage because, well, of
Yeah.
course they have to come to every um children's concert. They
Yes.
sometimes end up on stage because they want to stand next to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
or end up on my arm because, well, the little one. So they are so
Hmm.
used to having this,
Hmm.
um, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah. My dad started playing an instrument when my sister and I were really young, and he started going to like nursing home and care home facilities and just singing songs. And we were really little, and he just would let us stand with him on the stage and sing along or just stand there. But I don't have any stage fright because I had that experience so young and in such a safe way. So I think it's great that your kids are just growing up being on stage with you because they won't be afraid of that part of
Yeah, it's really
performance.
great, and um, yep,
Yeah.
I'll be happy.
So I have some questions for you about sort of the German instruments and community as compared to the American. Um, you spent like a whole year in North America, so you have some idea and have been involved some in the culture here. And I got to visit you this summer, so I got to like dip my toes a tiny bit in the folk music culture there. So just as kind of a starting point, how are the hackbrett and the salterio and the hammer dulcimer and the cymbalum, what are the things that make them different and what are the things that make them the same?
Okay, so Hammer Dulcimer with the fifth bridge is the Salterio instrument, and that was like being played in the 17th century and 18th century in Italy and Spain. It also has a fifth bridge. It's tuned differently because
Hmm.
it's tuned in one key, it's tuned in G major, and then you have like uh, where you'd usually go with same notes, you have all the accidental notes. So you have the accidental notes, and but the salterio, and that's something I'm always stumbling upon playing the hammer dulcimer, it only has every note once. So
Uh-huh.
there's no, okay, I can play it there or there or there, but
Hmm.
the Salterio has all the accidental notes, so I can play in whatever key, kind of, because it's tuned in G major. I always have to switch out tones if I go to other keys, which is like
Okay.
you could say like a harp, like those old harps where you had to tune every. Well,
Uh-huh.
no, you didn't have the
Before
pins.
they
You
had
had
a
to
lever.
tune. You had to
Yeah,
tune
okay.
So
Yeah.
and that's why in Ireland the music is in G major and D major because they only had to tune one note, and
Yeah.
that's like the same for the music for the manuscripted music from 17th and 1800, that you usually stayed in G major or in D major because you could change this one note.
I see.
But playing F major, for instance, is like it's really big. Well, I'm stumbling now, not playing, just talking about it.
Yeah.
So that's not not nice. But they used to have similar hammers like the hammer Dulcimer, but
Uh-huh.
they had like a little piggy tail in the end, and they were able to plug with this little piggy tail. Yep.
Okay. Almost like a little pick kind of on the
Mm-hmm.
end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And so that's the Salterio, and it vanished. So it vanished in the Romantic era where the harpsichord and
Mm,
the accordion came up and was big
okay.
because there were harpsichords everywhere. You could take your accordion, it was loud, and you could play it anywhere. So it vanished and it got back like in the 20th century when people went to museums and had builders rebuild Salteri.
Wow.
And yeah, and also then in 1970, the first the first person, Karl-Heinz Schickhaus, he was like the father of Hackbrett, you could say. He not only got the instrument to university, to being able to study Hackbrett, he also went to libraries in Italy and Spain and found the manuscripts. So found the old
Wow.
music and he
Yeah.
published old music. So that was the first steps. Yes, so that's a Salterio. And the cymbalum is, well, it's being played in the eastern parts of Europe and Hungary.
Okay.
It's you could say it's a big furniture. It's a big table.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, yeah. And so the upper system is fifth no, we call it fifth bridge in Germany. It's a treble bridge.
Okay.
And the lower system is chromatics. So it's a mixture actually between hammer Dulcimer and Hackbrett, because the Hackbrett is tuned chromatically, so in halftone steps, all the way from the low to high note. So the cymbalum is a mixture. So you have the fifth the treble bridge on top
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
the chromatics low. Yes, and the Hackbrett is a mixture, and the cymbalum hammers are super different. They have a different grip, and also the head, it's like spun with wool or something,
Okay.
and it's longer than the dulcimer and the hackbrett hammers. Well, in our hackbrett hammers, they are like this. So actually the grip, we take it with our peace fingers. So peace fingers, and then we
Yeah.
have like a bowl. And the top, the head, we have two sides. We have a wooden side usually, and we have a leather side.
Yeah.
Either really, really quiet or normal. And this is carbon fiber. So up until like 15 years ago, they used wood here, but
Okay.
then someone played with it and tried different well things and ended up having carbon fiber, and it worked really well. They got lighter.
Uh-huh.
Yes, so that those are the differences between those instruments.
Yeah. And then the zither is the German instrument that has at least some connection to the mountain dulcimer. And that's from what I understand, there are a few different sort of mountain dulcimer ancestral instruments and the way they developed over time, Germany adopted the zither, and the United States adopted kind of a different variation of some really similar
Yeah, so the
ancestral instruments. Does that sound right?
yeah, so the main focused instrument, so the ancestor should be the raffele, because the raffele is also tuned like a dulcimer, mountain dulcimer,
Yeah,
and it's
Carmen
also
pulled that out for me, and I said, "Oh, this just is a mountain dulcimer. This isn't even a thing that's very, like, got a variation. It's just three strings, diatonic fretboard, play under the single melody string. It's, yeah, amazing."
the shape is different. Well, the one I have to
Yeah,
Erin's, but
yeah.
well, that's the ancestor, and then they developed the zither. So the zither has five fretboard strings
Hmm.
and and up to 37 accompany strings. So the big deal with the zither is actually that you can accompany yourself. It's a soft instrument. It's not as loud as other
Hmm.
instruments. It's soft.
Hmm.
But you can play like two or three voices plus accompany yourself. And sometimes, well, when I was in university, we also played like old music on it. There's no old music because it was developed like in early 20th century. So there's no like in Hackbrett history or hammer dulcimer history. There's
Yeah.
old instruments. There's also before the Salterio, there's a medieval instrument which was played in France, and it's called Dulcimelos. It's actually up here. We did a rebuild in university once, finally in my
Wow.
final year, and yeah, and it has like two bridges, and it's just 1.5 octaves, but that's okay. So the zither doesn't have like this ancestry and
Yeah.
history like the Hackbrett, and there's also like no manuscripted music. So
Right.
what they did is they took lute music and adopted them for zither, and it's really cool to play lute music on the zither because it's working good. And then
Yeah.
of course you have your traditional music, and you have um, you have modern music. So what happened is actually that in the 70s the Hackbrett and also the Zither went to university, and those professors back then, they went up to composers, usually somebody you already knew in
Yeah.
your scene, and said, "Okay, I'm going to teach at university. We need modern music because, well, all the piano folks and violins, they have their modern music. We also need this." Because we have to teach at the university, we have to teach differently. We have to teach the old music, which for Hackbrett was already there. It was
Yeah.
you just needed to find it, and you need the modern music. So they got like two or three composers composing for the instrument, and now there are more and more, and it's really cool. And yep. So
Yeah.
yeah. Because you
Oh,
need different levels also of this music. You need the
sure.
level for the university people, for the advanced people, but also for the kids, because we have a competition, a music competition in Germany.
Mm.
It's called Jugend musiziert, and 2005 was the first time that the Hackbrett was allowed to take place in this competition. 2006 I competed in there. And
Okay.
it's like you have it in your city, then you have it in
Yeah.
a state, and then it's in Germany. So
Yeah.
back then it only was in the city of Munich,
Yeah.
and it grew, so now it's a city, state. Well, no, back then it also was city and state the second time
Okay.
when I
Uh-huh.
competed. And then it was, and nowadays it's also Germany. And but
Yeah.
also for those people play, well, for the kids playing there,
Hmm.
um, you need music that's working. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, finding music specifically for mountain dulcimer or hammer dulcimer even can be really challenging. So that quest to have more resources available is part of what makes it more accessible for people to learn to play the instrument. And it's interesting that the timelines of some of the like creation of resources are pretty similar in Germany and in the United States, where the 1970s was kind of when the Renaissance fair things were happening here, and that's when like Joni Mitchell started playing the mountain dulcimer, and we saw this kind of bringing these instruments into the public a little bit more and differently than before, when they were kind of only in the living room. They were the parlor instruments, and they weren't really performance instruments or played inside of ensembles and that kind of thing. So when the resources begin to shift and you see examples of that, I think it's interesting that that was similar in Germany timeline. So wow. Okay. As we know, I could talk to you for many, 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 many hours, and I hope that we have the opportunity to do that again and some more and continue the conversation. But we should probably get close to wrapping up for today. So I would like you to tell us how can we connect with you online, and are there any maybe starting resources you could recommend for people in the United States if they want to learn some more about German folk music and these instruments?
Okay, where can you reach me? Well, the best to reach me is, well, of course, via email,
Okay.
which is my name, Carmen Amrein, at yahoo.de. D is for Germany,
Yeah.
and I can put it under the Facebook video,
Sure.
so that's the reach thing.
Yeah.
Traditional German music. Well, actually, there's it's so funny because you have your lovely folk music you're playing, and I love it. And you have so many ornaments filled in. And
Mm.
German music is just the other way around. It's like the oak, the German oak. So you're playing the note that's there, and you're playing it like it's there, and you're not doing anything to German oak, German oak. And it's always really funny when I talk about German oaks in my classes. Yeah, so learning German music, I'd probably say come to Quarantunes and join a class with me because I
Yeah.
will talking about this. I'm not
Yeah.
going to be there this time, hopefully next time, well, having a class is always good. I'm rethinking doing online classes sometimes right now, so also having a look at my website is good, carmen-amrein.de, also again the DE for Germany,
Yeah. Yeah.
Deutschland. Yeah, so because there's a lot of tunes. Um, Not all are good for hammered dulcimers because we also have a lot of flat keys. And our
Okay.
music is usually this, that we have three parts, and every part is in a different key. So we start with like G major going to D major, going to have C major. That's playable on a hammer dulcimer. But if you have like an B flat major or
Yeah.
an E flat major, it's
That's
going to
more
be like a
difficult.
bit more difficult. And that's one thing I really look, that I don't have those keys in my workshops because I
Hmm.
know that this is not like playable
That's
or good.
reminding me, Carmen, that you have some classes on Dulcimer Crossing too, which is a
Yes,
subscription site that people could check out and access some of your
that's
teaching about
right.
that
I
too.
well, in December there were like two new classes uploaded,
Right.
and it's usually about German music or Salterio music and sometimes technique. So the, the workshops I'm usually teaching, or the
Yeah,
topics. Yes, so that's actually how you can reach me. So if you have a question about German music, just email, because that's easier than trying to find something online. Um, yep,
very good. Thank you so much, Carmen. Thank you for being here with us today.
you're welcome.
And
Thank you for having me.
yeah, I hope we will see you again soon, for sure on Zoom. Yeah. All right. Bye, friends. Thanks for watching today. See you next time.